History of the High Line, starting in the 1840s, a bunch of business people in New York came together and planned a railroad. From the 1840s into the early 1900s, it was the primary artery to get people and things in and out of New York City.
As soon as those tracks got laid, almost from the very beginning in the mid-1800s, there was this problem of the trains traveling at grade level in a crowded city and the accidents that they caused.
And it used to run down on 10th Avenue, and it was called Death Avenue because so many people were run over by the trains.
For a short period of time, the New York Central, who began to run the railroad at that point, actually hired people to ride on horses that were called the West Side Cowboys, and they ran out in front of the trains with red flags, warning people that the trains were coming.
But in 1929, the city, the state, and the New York Central Railroad came together in an historic agreement, the biggest transportation infrastructure project in New York City, known as the West Side Improvement. And what it did basically was eliminate grade crossings along the west side of Manhattan.
Early 1930s, the High Line section was completed. From Canal Street up to 34th Street, it was 21 feet above ground. Warehouses in that area were rebuilt so they could handle freight up at the second or third level.
The early bird gets underway. Destination, New York.
Starting in 1934, it got a new nickname, which was the Lifeline of New York, because it brought in a lot of food. And a lot of the warehouses were old food warehouses. There's most famously the Nabisco factory, which is now Chelsea Market.
After World War II, as manufacturing left New York City, the need for heavy freight rail really began to diminish. Into the 1960s, you basically had the traffic north of there begin to just disappear.
And in the 1960s, part of it, from Clarkson to Bank Street, was demolished.
And then there was another demolition in 1990 that brought it up to Gansevoort Street, which is where it ends today.